Well, what happened in the Kal? In the Kal imperfect, let's review. The root kum in the Kal imperfect simply added the imperfect prefix, right? Here's in the imperfect, we had the mater letter there of the root. So the Kal was yakum, and remember we got that distinctive A vowel, and said that that A vowel was a clue for hollow. Remember that? Hollow's in the Kal imperfect. In the Hiphil imperfect, we also add, obviously, the prefix, and we still have the A vowel. Okay? Now, whether this is the same A vowel that distinguishes the hollows in the imperfect, or one could argue that this is the pathak schwa of the Hiphil, but with no place to put the schwa, it lengthens to comets, just like we saw the lengthening of the Hirik to Saray up here. The fact of the matter is we end up in the same place, and we have a comets there. So how do you tell the Hiphil imperfect from the Kal imperfect? Answer? Not by looking at that comets, right? Because that comets is a clue for it being hollow, but it's not a clue for it being Hiphil. The difference between the Kal and the Hiphil is not the comets, but the fact that in the Hiphil, the mater letter in the middle, no matter what it is in the root form, becomes the long Hirik yod vowel of the Hiphil conjugation. There's your I vowel of the Hiphil. Got it? So the difference between Yakum and Yakim is the difference between the Kal with the original root and the Hiphil with the Eem. All right? What about the root Seam? Remember we have the root Seam? We also have the root Bo. I'm giving you an example of 3 different hollow roots with the different mater letters. Well, let's do Bo next. What would be the Kal imperfect of Bo? This is review. What does Bo mean again? This is your come or go verb, right? So we have the imperfect prefix, right? We have the A vowel that tells you it's hollow, but it doesn't tell you whether it's Kal or Hiphil. But then since we have the original vowel of the root retained, that's the Kal form. Just takes the root and adds the prefix. What's the Hiphil going to be? Well, instead of Bo, we're going to get Ya V, because that's the switch to the infix of the Hiphil. However, when the root is Seam, what's the Kal of Seam? You take the root, and in the Kal you already have the same Hirik yod that you're going to have in the Hiphil. You can't change it because it's already the E vowel. So in this case, the Kal and the Hiphil form turn out to be the same. And again, that's about as bad as it can get. We've now gotten to the bottom of the barrel here of confusing forms. Hey, what would the while consecutive be? No, you can't stay away from while consecutives, I'll warn you, right? All right, we've been looking at the Hiphil of Kum and said that the imperfect is Yakim, right? Let's compare Kal. The imperfect was, what's the Kal imperfect? Not Yakim, but Yakum, right? Right. All right. Now, what happens with while consecutive? Remember this form? We took Kum, the imperfect, and we added the while consecutive to it, right? That accent with the vowel consecutive pulls over to the first syllable, and what happened to this syllable? Do you remember that? Do you see that this syllable is closed? Here it's closed and accented, and that can retain a long vowel. But now it's closed and unaccented, and if there's one rule that holds, a closed and unaccented syllable must always have a short vowel. Which means that this vowel is going to shorten. What vowel family are we in? O, so it's going to shorten to the short O family, Kamet Skatuf. And you may remember this form. You've seen it on tests and quizzes, not to mention the Hebrew Bible, Vayakom. Translate? And he arose. The prophet arose and went to the city. Vayakom Hanavi Vayelek. Okay? And again, to review, here you got vowel consecutive. What is this vowel? Name the vowel. Comets. It's an open syllable long vowel. What's this comets telling you? Hollow. All right, what is this vowel? Name that vowel. I'll put this in a square. This is a different vowel because it's Kamet Skatuf. It's an O vowel. What's this vowel telling you? It's telling you that the original root letter was an O vowel. It could be a holum, it could be a shurik, you don't know, but it's going to be an O vowel. That's review. We've done all that in dealing with the kal. What happens in the Hiphil? When we take yakim and we add vowel consecutive to it, guess what? The same thing happens, the accent shifts. That turns this syllable into a closed and unaccented syllable, which means what? Short vowel. This vowel has to shorten. What vowel family are we in? The IE family. It's going to shorten to a short IE vowel. In fact, it shortens to Sego. So that this form turns out to be ya. What's the vowel here? Vayakim. And let's look at this one. Here's vowel consecutive. That's pretty obvious. Name this vowel. Comets. What's that comets telling you? Hollow. It's telling you the root is hollow. Do you see it's the same comets that told you this form was hollow? Does this tell you whether the form is Hiphil or kal? No. This vowel is an E vowel. What's this vowel telling you? It's telling you that the mater letter that was in there was an E vowel. All right? Since you know the root is not keem, but kum, how do you explain the fact that this vowel has become an EI vowel? Answer? It's in the Hiphil. It's in the Hiphil. Do you see that in these two forms, the only difference now between kal and Hiphil is that little secondary vowel there. Okay? And suddenly you got to pay attention to these things. Okay? These two forms are, again, kind of as confusing as it can get. I'm warning you because these forms, however, are very common. To have these hollows reduced down to those short forms in the vowel consecutive is much more likely than getting the straight imperfects in narrative. Why? Because you're using vowel consecutives all the time.
Want to